Thank you so much for clicking on us. She's Breland Moore. I'm Rich Donnelly, and we're about to talk Bills and Bengals. But the topic we're going with, how soon can we really take the Bills for real as a title contender or just a legitimate team? But before we get into this discussion, Breland, we have a clip from last week.
Okay.
And they shut down the passing game of the Atlanta Falcons. That was me last week saying that the Bills secondary was going to shut down the passing game from the Atlanta Falcons, and I take this purely as an opportunity to gloat and say I called it. So,
you did.
With
but
that,
also, you can't really gloat too much because Julio Jones out of that game.
That's irrelevant.
So, no,
that's
that
irrelevant.
counts.
That's just
that counts. He could have changed the game.
He's just 1/11th of the offense. I'm going to use a Sean McDermott phrase. That's 1/11th. Irrelevant fact. The Bills shut it down. Your boy was correct.
All right. Well,
thank you. Was that so hard? All right. With that said, we go back to our topic.
Right.
When is there a time in the season or like a game situation? At what point do we take the Bills legitimate? Are they right now?
Here's the deal. I would tend to say no, just because I hope for the best, but I always prepare myself for the worst. So I'm going to say no just yet because they are only 4 games in. But
I'll be one play away, one catch away from undefeated.
I agree, and I'm giving them credit. Keep in mind, when we were at training camp, the very first podcast of the year, we talked about how they were only projected to win 4 games all season. They're at 3-1 right now, and we're only in week 4. So
chances are good they reach number 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you know what? I do have to absolutely give them credit on that aspect. Although, I think unfortunately the way that their schedule's set up, I wish they would be playing a little bit more divisional games
it's
right
very
now.
backloaded.
So it's
very
strange for me to be like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen. They're gonna make playoffs because everything's kind of in the latter half of the season. So I don't want to get too happy right away, and then all of a sudden the games that really matter standing wise, if the New England Patriots continue their slide, which how
one would imagine that the Patriots are going to figure things out on the defense. They might not be a top 5 defense, but they're not going to be last.
But if something drastic were to happen with them, then those are kind of the games that I need to see. But I think this upcoming game, they're playing a team that's 1-3, and I'm not saying to take them lightly because obviously they have great weapons.
They're Pro Bowlers.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm not saying to take them lightly, but I don't necessarily think that a team that can, only win 1 game so far is going to be like, yes, this is it, y'all going to the bowl.
All right, the game that I have circled is Week 10 against the New Orleans Saints.
Really?
And I say
That's pretty far.
At that point, we're going to know because, all right, if they're on the path that they are, they should beat Cincinnati. And then you get the bye week, and then you have Tampa. Tampa's looked not so great. Jameis Winston, a lot of hype around him. That's a home game, should be winnable. Then you get the Raiders, but then the Raiders might still have E.J. Manuel as the quarterback if David Carr's injury doesn't sort of shape itself out.
Right.
So again, that's another game that you can't quite put your finger on.
That's true.
So, but the Saints have Drew Brees, and I don't care who he's throwing to. He could make 2 of us contenders for a Pro Bowl spot at wide receiver. He is one of the greatest quarterbacks of his generation, and what we've talked about all the time with the Bills defense, the secondary. He is going to test the Bills secondary more than any quarterback to that point, including Matt Ryan, who they schooled yesterday. Matt Ryan hasn't played that poorly since he was in his first couple years at Boston College. The Bills defense is legit, but we can take the full team as legitimate, in my opinion. Week 10 against the Saints, can the offense outscore a Drew Brees offense? Yeah. And can the defense slow Drew Brees down enough to allow an offense that might not score 30 points to win a game?
See, I am a little ahead of you on that because I'm just looking numbers-wise. I'm like, okay,
So you're saying they're legitimate when they pass expectations?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so, when I'm expecting them to beat Cincinnati. Now, who knows if they actually are going to. But whole are they legitimate train comes to a screeching halt if they lose to Cincinnati. Exactly.
A team, by the way, they beat last year when Cincinnati was a better team.
Right. So, say they beat Cincinnati. That moves them to 4-1.
Yeah.
and then you add, say
then you can recover a little bit with the bye week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then let's say they add 2 more wins with Tampa Bay and Oakland. That's a pretty solid.
6-1 is 6-1.
Exactly.
Bill
And
Parcells, your record is what
really solid.
yeah.
So I think at that point, I am gonna not jump on that Bills going to the bowl train, but I think that I would maybe drink the Kool-Aid, as Lorenzo Alexander says. You can't drink the Kool-Aid too early, but I think at that point when you're 6-1 and you're heading into basically November at that point, it might be time to start sipping.
Boy, would that Kool-Aid taste good if all of a sudden they're 6-1 heading into November. All right, well, tell us what you think. When will the Bills, or when should the Bills, be considered a legitimate threat to win a lot more games than they even have already? Let us know what you think. She's Breland. I'm Rich. Thanks for watching.